Today we are going to be testing out LOISH's digital brush set that she released for free, and I'm super excited to be able to walk this through with you guys and test them out with you and see how we like them. I know I usually do traditional art, but I've done digital art for several years now, but I don't feel like I'm as good at digital art as I am with traditional art. So that's why I haven't really shared a lot yet. Hopefully I get better. I'm going to keep working on it, so we shall see. First, we're going to start by going into, I'm going to screen share with you guys my laptop, and this is the email you get whenever you sign up for her free brushes and everything. Okay, so this is what you see as soon as you click on the email link and it takes you here. So first, I'm going to scroll down. There's a guide that she gives you. I downloaded the free brush set over here. I didn't download the palette. I may have downloaded the smudge brushes. We'll see. So let's look at the guide. Digital Art School Guide. And she gives us her credentials. Let's see. There's a workflow, how to draw a face, some video tutorials. We'll have to check all of those out. So let's see. Video tutorials. Let's do a sketching a character. That's something I've been wanting to work on. So let's see. So I'm so mad at myself because I thought I was recording for the last 20 minutes and it turns out I did not hit record and I was drawing at the same time, so I had no idea. Anyways, that's fun. So I'm just gonna walk through this a little bit and hopefully I remember everything I said. So I'm trying out all of her different brushes and seeing what they are like, seeing how it feels, if it's nice. And so let's start with the first LOISH textured round brush, or the oil pastel. I did not love the oil pastel one too much, so I was just using the round brush a lot more, which I really liked. The LOISH hard round brush, that was pretty nice. So I used that for my base sketch, and I really wanted to keep it loose, really flowy. I really like how this brush was able to be really transparent and then go more opaque. And so that was very nice. I really enjoyed that. And the sensitivity I had, I didn't feel like I had to push super hard or really soft. It was very nice. Good little mix that it had. I was just playing around with the sides. I was having a little bit of a hard time with her hair at first, trying to figure out how to make the curls obvious but also frame her face well. And so after I get that rough sketch down, I'm going to come back in using the LOISH hard round brush, just significantly heavier lining, and I lowered the opacity on the first rough sketch. I drew over that, kept working at it. So I really wanted to get those details in on her face, get the nose and lips right. I really want to keep that fluid motion that I got in the eyebrows in the initial sketch. And I feel like that's the hardest thing about going from a drawing to a sketch, is that you really like the looseness of the sketch, and trying to keep that throughout your drawing process is one of the big struggles, especially for me in digital art. And so I kept playing around with her hair, trying to decide what to do, and eventually I got it. I was able to figure it all out. And then as I kept building up those details, I didn't feel the need to draw every single curl pattern throughout her entire hair. I think that's unnecessary. That's not how I draw straight hair. It's not how I draw wavy hair. I like to more allude to details. Because if you look at my hair right now, you can see that it's more of a shape and an idea of it. It's not necessarily every single strand that you're going to look at, and there's some pieces that stick out a bit and you may want to add those to show, oh look, there's individual hair strands here, but you're not going to draw every single one. And so that's what I was doing with her hair, was just implying curls, implying that pattern while not having to draw it, and it saves you a lot of time doing it that way. And I'm a very lazy artist, so that's what I did. And then after that, I got the rest of the base sketch down. I adjusted her eyes because it was a little wonky. After looking back at it, I was like, oh. And that's the nice thing about digital art, is you can fix these mistakes. I don't use the lasso tool or liquify tool enough, that is for sure. I think it's just because I started out as a traditional artist, and so whenever I do digital art, I feel like I still have a limited amount of tools as I would traditional art. That's something I'm trying to work on, and now I'm just trying to decide what brush to use for the color. I liked this brush for like the solid base, and I really like how the next brush I tried, how it has this ability to be layered and really shade well, but I didn't really want to use that for the base color because I wanted something more solid and tangible and something that gives me a good base to work off of. So I always usually do, if I'm not using LOISH's brush, I usually just use like Procreate's traditional like just round brush that's like literally a circle, and I literally just cover the whole like character with that and do an outline and fill it in. Because as you can see here, after I do this initial outline of the character, I try to like fill it with the color, and you can see this outline around it. And so I had to go back in and like cover it up, which is fine, but that's just usually why I pick like a solid brush for my base color. But I wanted to use all of her brushes for this, so that's why. And then after that, I start picking out the skin tone, the highlight kind of a mid-ish tone to differentiate a little bit. I really like doing those tones a little bit warmer, going more towards the orange and yellow colors, whereas you can see her skin tone's more red purple on those color wheels, her bases at least. And I do not like how this brush lays for adding color. And I was like, whoa, very much not what I was wanting. And I guess I could blend it, but that's just like another step I'd have to do. See, I don't use the smudge blend tool a lot. I like just using actual brush itself. Maybe it's because I like prefer having it more of a painting experience. So anyways, I tried a new brush, tried softening it out a little bit. And then when that didn't work, I just went over all of it again. And I was like, let's start over. I got my old color again. And I really recommend setting up like the gesture controls on your Procreate and really customizing it. So that way you can have it where it's really easy for you to have a really quick workflow, because you don't have to maybe try to find that color, save it in a certain spot on the canvas, and I drop it every time you need it. You can go back to the previous color is what I have it set up to when I long press on the color icon. And then I also have like the eyedropper tool nearby, like undo's, double tap, like all these things. And that's like really fun to see also all of the different things that Procreate offers. And so now I'm just working on building up kind of this mid-tone range, kind of setting up the base for like future highlights that I'll add in. Then after that, I want to give her some blush so she looks alive, so she doesn't look dead. We need the variation of colors for our characters, especially if it's more of a rendered drawing like this one is and not just like a flat drawing. And so I really like this color picker tool, the value section in Procreate, because I really can see all the different dials that it has, like the red, green, and blue section, where I can literally decide, because in my head I know I want it to be cooler. So how do I do that? I'm going to add more blue, I'm gonna add some green, and that I can really like visualize it. It works really well with my brain versus sometimes the normal like circle palette that they give you. And so I did some purplish blush base color, and I also did that around the rest of her face. I wanted it a little warmer, so I added a little bit more red into her blush, and especially for her lips, I wanted those to be more warm. And then I added this purple color for the shadow, because traditionally shadows are cool and highlights are warm, but there's always exceptions, and it's fun if you change that up too. So like, don't think that you have to stick to that, but that's just what I wanted to do with this drawing as well. And so I added some of those base colors, and now I'm going to use the lasso tool, which I said before I don't usually use as often, and that's just because I forget about it. I don't think I know how to use it to its best potential, so I was trying to play around with this. I filled it, and then I realized I didn't like that color, so I filled it with a different color, and I really liked how that one turned out. I was staying in the lasso tool. I like literally, this is how little I use it. Like I literally had no idea I could paint so much in it. So that's funny, silly me. Didn't know you could stay in there that long. I thought it just like disappeared after you do a few things. So that was cool. So I kept adding some details to her hair, building up the shading a bit, making it darker. I used the same color for her eyebrows and eyes because I like to have a more limited color palette, just to make the image more cohesive. And it really challenges you, I think, as an artist to sometimes work with a limited color palette. And especially when you're learning like color theory and all the basics, it's just good to like stick with a few things so you don't like get overwhelmed with all these little colors and little things and things that contradict and clash and don't look well together. So I always try to kind of use a limited color palette. So I kept building up the details. I used a little bit more of a dark red to go around her eyes. I thought the purple looked a little bit too like sunken in for it. So I used that red around her eyes and on her like cheeks and cheekbone area, and then kept shading. And then I realized I shaded the nose wrong because I was having like this shadow come at the, I guess it's the right side of her face. We're looking at it from, but it looks like the left to us. Anyways, so I realized I had that shadow there. And so I switched it because I was like, where's the light coming from? If the neck shadow's here, then what do I have to do? So you always have to remember, like, where's the light coming from? I always have to ask myself, where is the light? Where is it? And then shade according to that. Next, I'm going to get a nice cream white color for her eye, the whites of her eyes. And again, staying with that limited palette, I do that highlight for her nose and lips as well. And the reason I don't use pure white is because it's really shocking on an image, and nobody really has like pure white. Like our eyes, our teeth, none of it is actually white. I wanted to make sure that I didn't like kind of shock us with that stark white. And same with black. You don't really see black naturally. Try to avoid like the extremes, like pure white and dark black, or like pure black, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, and instead try to find like similar colors. Use like a cream or a very light white, or use a dark brown or a dark red or a dark blue, all these different things. After that, I wanted to change the line art color to make it more cohesive with the rest of the drawing. This is something LOISH really encouraged in her drawing tutorial videos, and so I thought I'd do it because I was using her brushes, and she recommends using these toggles and stuff, but again, I have like no idea what I'm really doing. I just don't know how to use it to its best potential yet. So I just kind of gave up, and I instead went over and I set it to alpha lock again. So that means you can't like color outside of your own lines. And I just drew the whole thing a little bit of a very dark red to blend with the rest of it. And then I was able to set it to multiply to blend in with the background a little bit more, and then I lowered the opacity so that way it wasn't as stark. And then I decided to build up some of the colors a bit more, add the like lights to her eyes, and also add some pupils. And then I used her last brush, well, I used her two other brushes I hadn't before. It was this bristly brush, and I used that to create the texture for the rest of her hair, and I really enjoyed how that turned out. I think it really added a lot more like depth and movement to her hair. And then I saw her last one was the splatter brush that she had, and so I used that to make some freckles and skin tones because I thought, why not just use every single brush? Again, chose like kind of a darker brown color from the palette, and then I lowered the opacity and set it to multiply to blend in with a bit of the other colors that we had going on. There you have it. That is the finished drawing. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've tried LOISH's brushes before, or if you're going to try them, let me know. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!